Solvitur ambulando, a Latin phrase that means it is solved by walking. This ancient adage captures the essence of our discussion today. As we look back at the tumultuous times of the pandemic, it is evident that amid the chaos and uncertainty, the simple act of walking became the cornerstone of solace for many. It was during these walks that Canadians found not just a way to stay active, but a path to connection and community. Today, I want to delve into the profound impact of something as simple as neighborhood walking and how it has the potential to foster a more connected Canada. During the height of the pandemic, when we were confined to our homes, we witnessed a surge in the number of people taking to the streets for their daily walks. But it wasn't just about getting some fresh air or a bit of exercise. It was about something deeper, something that brought us closer as communities, something that made us recognize the value with the people with whom we share our neighborhoods. Let's delve into the heart of this matter. For many of us, neighborhood walking, particularly during the pandemic, may have initially been about physical activity or escaping the confines of our homes, but it became a catalyst for fostering social bonds and a profound sense of community. Research conducted by me and my research team at the University of Waterloo shows that even the most casual encounters during these walks had the potential to strengthen social ties. These encounters, sometimes just a smile or a brief chat, had a remarkable effect on the social fabric of our neighborhoods. After talking with 46 participants from Kitchener-Waterloo about their experiences walking in their neighborhoods during the pandemic, we discovered two very important things that happened during their walking experiences. First, they felt acknowledged by their neighbors. And second, they themselves became conscious of those living in their neighborhoods. Let's flesh these findings out further. Whether they were negotiating the sidewalks as they encountered other walkers or shared a moment together, maybe a wave, a wink, or even an exchange of words, participants felt acknowledged. During a time of physical distancing and masking, the act of in-person acknowledgement brightened their day. It made them feel like someone cared. It made them feel like they belonged. That acknowledgement led to a greater social consciousness of who they thought belonged to their neighborhood. It was part of an important process of fitting people into their imagined community. By routinely seeing and acknowledging others on their walks, participants felt a level of commitment to look out for those individuals in their neighborhoods. In other words, over time, it played an important role in building up participants' support networks. Oh, and I should mention, dog owners were particularly susceptible to these kinds of encounters. Our findings show dogs acted as social catalysts, attracting attention, breaking the ice, and creating opportunities for strangers to engage in conversation. They made people visible, and they offered something safe and neutral for neighbors to comment on. And hey, got an older dog that's slower moving? No problem. These dogs made walks slower, which led to even more interaction and came with their own benefits and sometimes even challenges. In all cases, for all walkers in our study, the simple act of walking allowed participants to immerse themselves in their surroundings and recognize their neighbors, thereby creating a sense of familiarity. This seemingly mundane activity fostered an environment of empathy and understanding, particularly at a time when the world was grappling with public health restrictions and the spread of infection. Instead of being mere cohabitants of a space, individuals acknowledged each other, building a shared sense of community even amid the distancing protocols. They engaged in what I call neighboring, and authentic social interactions with their neighbors. During the pandemic, we temporarily moved from our customary practice of anonymity to a landscape of increased engagement and connection among neighbors. In the intricate tapestry of urban life, the need for anonymity is usually unavoidable, manifesting in the deliberate act of maintaining social distance. By intentionally remaining unfamiliar to others, we mitigate the risk of creating acquaintanceships that may lead us to unintended obligations. However, the recent pandemic crisis illuminated the intrinsic need for human connection, emphasizing the significance of engaging with those in our local communities. By extending a moment of genuine connection to our neighbors, even from a distance, we initiate a shared commitment that paves the way for deeper engagement and a stronger, more supportive community fabric. Why is this important? This acknowledgement of one another, this social consciousness, lays the foundation for trust and solidarity within our neighborhoods. It creates the groundwork for an imagined community where the lines between strangers blur and a shared identity as neighbors emerges. This trust, in turn, becomes a wellspring for social capital, a resource we can rely on when times are tough. Now, some might argue that these findings were influenced by the unique circumstances of the pandemic. However, these insights carry implications that extend beyond COVID-19. They speak to the potential of neighborhood walking as a powerful tool for fostering meaningful connections, even in normal times. Despite the challenges, the essence of neighboring remains a universal and a powerful force that shapes our communities. So, what is it about walking that makes it so conducive to strengthening relationships? Sure, it's great for our health. We know walking can play a role in managing heart disease, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, obesity, elevated cholesterol, we're getting there, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. It's even regarded as a potential means of warding off dementia. Walking, moreover, contributes positively to our mental health. It has been described as, quote, a route to reclaiming a particular consciousness, which involves some of the gains of a slower, more meditative way of life. It's no surprise, then, that walking is a popular activity among Canadians. But germane to my talk today, neighborhood walking brings about increased encounters with neighbors. It's a slow-moving activity that lets walkers take their neighborhoods in as they walk through it. It allows neighbors to attend to what is going on in their surroundings, thereby creating opportunities for social interaction and the strengthening of neighborhood ties. Amazingly, the positive impacts of neighborhood walking aren't just limited to walkers themselves. It has far-reaching implications for the neighborhood and community as a whole. Stronger social ties and increased social capital translate into a more resilient and supportive neighborhood, capable of weathering challenges and fostering a sense of belonging among its residents. It leads to a community where individuals look out for one another, where the well-being of all is a shared responsibility, and where the collective strength of the neighborhood is greater than the sum of its parts. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with the realization that something as simple as a walk in our neighborhoods can hold the key to nurturing a more connected and resilient Canada. Walking isn't just about social activity. It's about forging genuine social connections, about fostering trust, and about cultivating a shared identity within our communities. As you walk back into your own lives after this conference, consider how you can embrace this simple act to create a more cohesive and supportive community. Today, I urge you to take that extra step, to smile at your neighbor, to acknowledge those you pass by on the sidewalk. Let's build a Canada where the simple act of walking can pave the way for a stronger, more connected society. Together, we can step into the future where the bonds we form on the sidewalk shape the foundation of a more cohesive and compassionate nation. One answer to solving the epidemic of loneliness and isolation is to encourage neighborhood walking. So remember, Salvator ambulando, and get out there and go for a walk. Thank you.
Thank you. It's certainly a lot I relate to there as someone who I'm a regular dog walker, but I'm a bit concerned about the encouragement about winking. This seems to me a little dubious. Does anyone have any questions? We've got just a couple of minutes. Any questions? Yeah.
I'm wondering just how, over what length of time was the research conducted? Over how many months?
Yeah, thank you. It was over the course of a calendar year in 2021. Oh, thank you.
Another question here.
Thank you. When I met Troy this morning, I said, I go for walks all the time with my dog, and I meet everybody. I've never met more people in my neighborhood in my life before I had our dog. And that was post-pandemic. And so I'm just curious if you're going to do a similar study again later to see, was it the pandemic, or is this just like consistent all the time? It has the same benefits.
Yeah, I think the plan is to extend it beyond the pandemic, and so definitely that's the plan. Yeah.
And one more question.
It's just a comment. I noticed that I'm not a dog owner, but I noticed that people who have dogs introduce the dogs' names, but they don't introduce themselves. And
Yeah.
I was actually just down on the little beach where I live, and these dogs kind of came bounding up to each other, and I made that comment, and the dog owners just laughed,
Yeah.
but they didn't introduce themselves.
Yeah. I actually, that is a finding from our study, is that dog owners often know the names of other dogs. They don't know the names of the dog owners. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the interesting thing about that is they still make that connection. They're familiar strangers in a way. And that is connected to a sense of what we might call, in intellectual circles, mere belonging, which just even the idea that we feel a sense of connectedness to somebody actually connects to a greater sense of belonging within our communities. So, important connections.
Yeah, Troy, I just wanted to say, I think this research, and I'm sure it's pretty simple. Like, hey, we go for a walk. I actually think this is such critical research, because I think what we're doing is raising people's consciousness that, hey, going for a walk, physical activity, we know about that. We've educated people on that for 50 years. But recognizing all these other opportunities that you described there are so important. And I guess you don't want to hypothesize, but what do you think is going to happen post-pandemic now that people are getting back into routines? What do you think is already happening? Have you got a sense?
Well, I do worry, frankly, that we are reverting to what's called civil inattention. And what that means is we encounter so many people